I'd like to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of January 12th, 2021, 6:30 p.m. Web-based special meeting. The Planning and Zoning Commission will hold an executive session, discuss pending litigation. Oakwoods LLC and Timothy Draper versus Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Bethel. I would like to have a motion to go into executive session, if I may.
So moved.
And you're going to invite.
Yeah, I'm going to invite you. Yep.
Was that Bob and Penny?
Yeah, I'd like to invite David, Nancy,
Not
Chuck,
necessarily in
and
that
Beth
order.
to our executive session.
And we'll spell out everybody's name and title.
Okay.
And I'm invited too, correct?
I
Yes.
have you. Yes, Chuck. All right.
And you have to have a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, David, recording off.
Recording now.
Yeah. We're
I'd like to
recording.
make a motion to come out of executive session. Looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? We are out of executive session. Moving on, next on our agenda is our business meeting minutes. And there is a correction on the meeting minutes. You'll notice that it says November 24th. That was just a typo. It's our meeting minutes to December 8, 2020. If I may have a motion to approve our meeting minutes.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who was first?
John.
Thank you, John. Who was second?
Kitty
I think I
Griffin.
was getting that.
Kitty. I
Kitty,
got it.
thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, meeting minutes are approved. Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, Chuck Andrews for the record. I'm going to take off unless you feel you need me for anything else.
I think we're good. Thank
We're all
you.
Okay.
set.
There's
Thank you
more
very
trouble
much.
tonight, Chuck.
Okay, thank you.
It's 7:08 for billing purposes.
Oh, you devil.
All
He
right,
sees
next
right
on
through us.
our
What
Good
can I
night,
say?
Chuck. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, great, thanks.
Take care.
Is a work session, DeMarco Site Plan Special Permit Mixed Use Development, 155 Greenwood Avenue. And I'll turn this over to Attorney Olson.
Before you do that, Pat, I think it would be worthy of us to note the very sad death of Dr. Ed Volpintesta,
Yes.
whose building we are discussing at this point. So
My
just
doctor for 35 years.
Mhm.
a giant of a man, and absolutely
nice man.
legend in
He's
the,
an overall
Yeah.
nice man.
in the world of
Thank you, Penny.
healthcare in general. So
Respect
people
it,
very
well,
much
yeah.
miss.
Thank you, Penny. That was the first item on my list to talk about. Just ask that everybody keep him and his family in their thoughts this week.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm hopeful we will find a way to remember him as we move forward with this project. Alyssa is on, I believe. I'd like to start with her to go over the architecture. You'll remember in December, we closed the public hearing on the special permit for a parking reduction, but kept the site plan portion open for consideration. And one of the main reasons was we were doing our elevations. They're done and submitted, and I'd like to ask Alyssa to put those up on the screen and go over them with the commission.
David, I have to share my screen. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Screen sharing should be enabled, Beth.
Yep, and then David, if you could give Jacqueline Tyler screen sharing capabilities.
Screen sharing, once it's enabled for one, it's enabled for all, Elisa.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Should I pull those up?
Yes, that would be great, Jacqueline. Good evening, everyone. Elisa Volpati from Nexus Creative Architecture and Design. As Peter stated, we have advanced the project to the next level as requested by Beth at the last meeting. So we have gone ahead and developed the floor plans more and also the elevations. So we're
I'm sorry,
turning-
Dave, it still says that that it's disabled.
Beth,
Yeah.
there should be I don't, so there's the green button at the bottom of your screen, Beth, share screen.
Yeah.
There's a
Don't you
little
have it
arrow
too?
next.
You're the
there's-
co-host.
Right, but for some reason, I don't have that ability to let people share their screens. I don't know why. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the green button, share screen.
Yeah.
There's the arrow next to it in that, whatchamacallit?
Says multiple participants can share screen
Right,
simultaneously.
and then there should be another one that allows any participant to share their screen.
All participants?
Yes.
Okay.
Ah,
Okay.
there you
And Jacqueline, now you should be able to share
I'm
your
good.
screen.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, David.
Okay, so as I was saying, we have advanced the design to the next level from what you saw before, which was basically three-dimensional renderings, sketches, etc. So now we have developed the floor plans and the elevations of all the buildings. Building A, the existing building, we did not have drawings of, but through photographs and you know, just our ability to create some plans, we have come up with unit plans for that building as well. So what you are seeing here was not in the submittal package, but we developed this in the last few days just to give a more realistic view as we did before with the hand sketches. These are now generated from the actual computer drawings. So they are just, again, further developed, showing materials, obviously, on the exterior, and then adding site elements such as the terrace next to building A, which you see in the upper left corner. And that, of course, Dinus and Abigail will talk more about that later on. But again, we're just showing you three-dimensional views. So the top left view is a view from Greenwood Avenue, as if the Wells Fargo building was not there. So in order just to give a capture of as much of the alley as we could, you know, we have to see through that building. So that's the way it was in the original hand sketch, and we're just recreating that view for you now. So here you're seeing building A in the background with the pergola in the foreground, and then going down from Greenwood towards the Municipal Center, you're seeing buildings B, C, and D vanishing in the distance. As you can see in this drawing, we are suggesting a different color for building C. Basically, the plans of those three buildings, B, C, and D, are identical, but we do not want them to look identical from the exterior. So we are suggesting different materials on the outside. We're doing some different things with the roofs, as you can see. And then just to give it its own identity, so it doesn't look like three exactly the same buildings marching along. In the bottom right, you're seeing a view of building. Oh, okay, thanks, Jacqueline. She was just zooming in. This is a view of building E from the Municipal Center. So, and we will show you the plan later. You'll see, especially in Dinus's plan, that this building is really an L-shaped building wrapping around School Street. Because it is an odd shape, it was challenging to get a gable on this building, but we felt it was important to be consistent with the vernacular architecture of the surroundings and also of the other buildings to have a gable on this building. So there's some other interesting things that occur. As you can see, some terraces on the alley side in this building. And then again, the nice thing is how it wraps the corner, and basically you're coming from the alley around, the Municipal Center's on the opposite side, and then the parking lot is as you go around the corner towards the back. And we'll show you views of that in the elevations that we have. Okay, so these are two what we're calling composite elevations. The top one obviously is from the alley side. In the far right, you see the existing building with the pergola. And again, we're not suggesting many changes to that building other than you know, what Steve would like to do on the inside in order to get 2 units on the second floor. And then the outside will be, you know, minimally restored with windows, siding, and again, just keeping it as much as we can to its original look now, you know, that has shutters and simple trim and the way it is now. We're not suggesting any major changes to the exterior of the existing building. So going along, again, now you're seeing the straight on elevations of B, C, D, and E. You can see where we're suggesting brick on all of these buildings, some at higher levels than others, but again, trying to vary it from building to building so they each have their own identity. And in the bottom drawing, this is what you are seeing from the parking lot side. If you might remember, we have what we're calling an arcade at the lower level. And that's where pedestrians can walk underneath the second and third floors. They overhang. So those, the square footages of those 2 floors obviously is larger than the lower level. So the lower level again has the retail shops, and then the upper level has the units in them. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to point out. Yes, and then these are the technical drawings, I'll call them. So this is the basic unit plan of B, C, and D. Again, it's identical for those 3 buildings on the inside, the layouts. We have 2 units on each floor. On the lower level, we're suggesting 1 retail space per side of the central stair. Oh yes, so this is the plan of building E. And as you can see, as I was mentioning, it's really an L shape. Again, going along with the angle of the alley and then also the angle of School Street is where we're obviously coming up with those relatively challenging geometric forms to work with. But, you know, we're pretty excited about this building because it does have a lot of interest. As I explained, it has the terraces, has that gable at the end, which is really just, you know, a nod towards the municipal center. But again, the layouts are very similar to the other buildings, given that there's 2 units per floor with a central stair in the middle. Just the diagrammatic section.
And then this also, just jump in, Lisa, real quick, is
Yeah.
the building E does have an opportunity with
Oh, yeah.
the large gable on the end to now create lofts for the upper third level.
Yep. Right up there, correct.
And building A.
Yeah, so let's just go to that sheet for building A. So you see there would be 2 units accessible from an existing stair in the back, which we're not suggesting changes at all. I mean, it could be updated or possibly have a covering over it, but it's there now. Then there would be a hallway and then just 2 relatively small 1-bedroom units on that second floor of building A. And the first floor is just going to be a commercial use. We don't know at this time what that will be. And then these just show a few notes, as I was mentioning, for the exterior. But again, we're not suggesting any major changes to this exterior. You can see we're showing where signage and lighting would be. We know that the alleyway is going to be lit by the lighting that we have on the building because there's really no room for any site mounted lighting. So I don't know if you can zoom in a little, Jacqueline, but yes, we have lighting on the building where the signages are located. There's also obviously some lighting now in the Wells Fargo parking lot that would throw some light onto the alley. But as far as what we are doing, we are showing the signage and lighting as you can see it there. And this is really a great view, I think, just the way it looks. You know, I can really envision it from this perspective.
Where's the lighting going into the apartment building itself?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Where is the lighting for the entrances of the apartments themselves from the outside?
Well, you would enter on the parking lot side in there.
Oh, it's on the back, okay.
Yeah, so actually those little square things you're seeing are lights on the outside.
Very good.
And again, you know, the parking is challenging for the parking lot as well. There really is not any square inch of space in the lot to put, you know, any kind of, and we discussed that at prior meetings. So we are relying on the building to light.
Right.
And it's not a large area, obviously, but so we are incorporating that into the building architecture.
And the arcade will also have down lighting underneath.
Correct.
Good. I just was thinking for security purposes, and where would the lighting be? But you pointed it out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, can you bring up the floor plan for the BCD commercial space? Alyssa, was the final resolution able to allow a connection between the two spaces if needed?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right in that vestibule there, Peter.
So somebody could rent both spaces and then have one entrance and.
Correct.
Yeah, I think they could, yes. There's, you know, doors there that could be removed.
Yeah, and in the case that becomes the situation, this wall is not a structural wall. So there's opportunity to enlarge this slightly. You're still going to have the stair intercepting, but you have an opportunity to regain some of this space as well.
Yeah.
Where did we end up with ceiling height there? On the first floors of those buildings?
So as of now, as per the TOD code, all the retail spaces have a 12-foot floor to floor, which approximately would be 11 feet or a little bit less. Ceiling heights, which is very high for the size of the spaces.
Yeah, we have a 12 feet floor to floor and then a 9-foot floor to floor with both of these. It's showing 8, showing that that's your typical ceiling height in your units.
Yeah.
And what were the windows in the roof in building C?
What are they?
Yeah, can you show those plans?
Yep, those can be open to these here, right, Peter?
Yes.
So those can actually be opened. They can either be faux or they will open up above this into the living space. There's an opportunity to create a dormer
Not
situation.
extra living space. It's just
No, it is not.
extra ceiling height.
Right.
Correct. The only
Alyssa.
extra living spaces on building E. But just to be clear, those aren't large, those are literally loft situations. And you can see in the gray tone, the dark gray tone, where that space would be accommodated up underneath the gable ends. And so there'd be a ladder up to those. So they're more like storage spaces or
Little workspace, yeah.
right. Yep. And the floor plan is the same floor plan as building 2. I mean, floor 2, you're just having that extra space up in the loft.
Right.
Since it's a work session rather than a public hearing, I guess I'll ask if there's any questions for Alyssa at this time from the commission.
I
Alyssa,
do have a question. The library is the Greek revival, so when you look at the front roof line, it has a very particular look about it. Dr. Volpentesta's building has the same roof line to it. Is it possible up at the peak that the roof lines can look like those two buildings? Instead of just coming right out to the very end, can they come in then toward the center? So if you take a look at the front of Dr. B's building,
Right.
you can see how the roof line is. It comes down and then kind of comes in a little bit on either side. The library does exactly the same thing. And I'm not sure if Dan O'Grady's office does or not, but is it possible to create an end of building that looks just like that roof line?
We could look at doing that, Pat. I think we were kind of going with something simple and keeping it, simple gable roofs with square cut ends and a simple return. I think this, just as you said, conjures up a different style of architecture that has other details that would go with it, etc.
I'm just thinking of the roof line only.
Yeah, and I think it works here because it's obviously a wider form and a shallower roof.
Right.
So I'm not saying we couldn't absolutely try that and see what it looks like, and maybe on one building. But I think it would involve doing other things, as I said, changing the roof pitch, possibly.
Oh, okay.
Well, and yeah, I think to your point, Elisa, if we were to do that, we definitely would want, I know you're mentioning the roof only, but I think it'll start to have a disconnected form if it's not melding with the other architectural forms on the building. It'll be, I feel it might almost be a one foot on the platform, 1 foot off. So I think if we decide to incorporate this into one or the other buildings, then the other architectural components should follow.
Right.
And suit to a degree.
Right. For example, like the shutters, we wouldn't start putting those on.
Right.
And I'm not saying everything has to go with it, but
it's a more traditional form.
Right.
We would look at, a lot of it would come into the trim and the type of trim that's being portrayed is a simple linear as compared to the built up fascias.
Right.
That you're seeing here in the head trim.
And I don't know how you feel, Pat, but I have found that in today's modern day construction, it is so hard to get those returns right. I mean, I've seen every version from people sticking, roof material in there to just covering it with aluminum in there. And I mean, it's very hard to get it done right. And I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but I've had a lot of situations where,
No, it was just a thought because those buildings are so close together.
Yes, they are. I know, that's why we struggle with, is building A, are we trying to make it, at one point we did have an addition on that on that first floor part of building A, and then we had vertical siding on that one element. We also had a bay coming out of building A at one time with vertical siding. Again, trying to make it relate to the rest of the alley. So, I think with the new siding on building A, we can, even though it's horizontal, it may be, it should be the same color, I think, as the light color siding in our buildings to the left. But, we do want it to seem like it's part of this project, yet it does have its own identity on Greenwood Avenue, obviously.
Right.
So
Definitely.
that's a challenging part.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else have any questions?
I don't have anything. I just have one comment. It's exactly what I visioned for the last so many years, thinking that this idea might come alive. So it's exactly what I always envisioned.
That's great, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
My only question is this, do you have any visual of what the adjacent building, what is that, 8 South Street? Where Dr. Fine's office is. Do you have any visual of what that would look like along with this particular build, this end on South Street, just so we can get a glimpse of of what we're looking at?
I think you mean School Street, right?
Yes, thank
Street.
you. Thank you, School Street.
School Street.
And are you asking about elevation so you could compare the new construction versus what's existing? Is that what you're asking for, Penny?
A visual, right now there is this beautiful park with a big tree along School Street.
Yes, it's actually a parking lot.
You're right, Penny. That's not there.
Yes, the parking lot.
Right.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if there's something, maybe an elevation or maybe just, a general sketch, what that might look like.
What it really is going to look like on that one side.
Yeah, I mean,
Jacqueline, maybe if you could call it the Google Street View.
That's what I was just gonna say. I can pull
yeah,
out.
we could go on Google. That's the best we could do right now.
I just point out that that's pretty far down the block, though. That's, we're, at this point, we're almost directly opposite the old main entrance to the municipal center. There's Bethel High School over that entrance. And so you've got the entire width of the municipal center all the way down to the gazebo before you even get to that building.
Okay.
But
Yeah, if you're talking about the old building, I've only been here for 40 years, so I don't remember.
I have a problem with spatial relationships sometimes.
Okay. Thank you.
Here we go.
Ah, excellent. Great.
So it is sitting.
Yeah, so it's just back through the trees there.
Nope, I see it. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the blue building down the street.
No, no.
No.
That one, yeah, that's it.
See, now you've got the big tree right there.
That's the building.
That's the big tree that you see in the picture.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Someone's going to have to point out all of these entrances to me. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, the tree's probably back a little bit further, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there is one, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we don't have the asphalt in here. But this is all open
Okay,
currently.
thank you for indulging.
Sure.
That's good.
Other comments?
I have enough.
Is the color the same on all of these other than the one, or are they all going to be slightly different?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're suggesting that it is a white vertical, like board and batten looking siding. Of course, everything's up for discussion. We're not saying anything's definitely decided at this point, but we did want to make one building different, as you can see. So that's like we're thinking like a bluish gray, and then the windows on that building would be a dark gray. Yeah, like a dark warm gray, but all the other windows would be white, and then the white siding with the red brick. And it would be a very traditional red brick, just as you see all around.
It keeps it from looking like one long building.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, the difference in the middle really stands out. It's nice.
Yes.
Ken, do you have any questions?
No, that's it.
Rich? Rich, are you there?
Yeah, no, none for me.
Okay. Linda?
No questions, thank you.
Rob Stoll?
I was going to ask if they.
Rob, are you on mute?
Not anymore.
I can hear
Oh,
him,
okay, we can barely hear you.
Let me shout a little bit here. How's that?
A little bit.
Better.
Okay, well, I'll do the best I can. Is there a view straight on from Greenwood Avenue showing the juxtaposition of the original home office versus the new structures?
I'm sure
I
there is.
don't think we have captured that view. We can capture it because these are all models, 3D models.
I could pull, are you asking for like a proportion between the two? Is that?
Yeah, I guess like if I was standing in the middle of Greenwood Avenue dodging traffic, to see, how the new structures kind of stick
Mm-hmm.
out to the left a little bit, just to get a visual on that.
I can pull something up quickly. It's not going to be the colored version that you see here. But if
Or
you,
Why don't we go on with Dinus and to give Jacqueline? a
yeah, I
little-
say if you guys want to go on while I pull that up, then
So
Great, thank
Alyssa
you.
has to attend a meeting in New Milford also by Zoom. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna let her go, but she'll be monitoring if we need her back.
Yes, I will be here.
But otherwise, I'd like to ask Dinus to jump in and just briefly go over the changes that we made to the site plan since December.
Peter, before you do that, can we finish up on architecture? There was a few comments that I wanted to make.
Sure, before Alyssa goes, definitely.
Yeah. Just briefly, I wanted to let everybody talk first. A few comments I just wanted to say was, I like the footprint of the buildings. I love the use of keeping the staircases to the interior of the building and not having them go off the backs. The concept of the small retail spaces from 500 and 580 square feet. Even the getting in the small balconies out there. I'm concerned about the equipment associated with the building, the HVAC systems and all that kind of stuff. Where are we going to hide our equipment and uses along those lines? I'm not sold on the color scheme. When I look at 10 Worcester Street, I look at that modern, what they call the modern farmhouse type of thing. Again, it's more of a matter of opinion. I don't like the dark windows. I would like to see more contrast in colors, maybe with the window framing or things that nature. I hate to say that, to me, there's still a little bit of a starkness about the buildings. I think they need to be softened a little bit. Not so much on the first floor where the retail aspect is, but maybe with the use of different colors or moldings or things of that nature, we can just give it a little bit more softness. I'm not good with architectural terms, as you all know, but I look at what was done over at Chestnut Street and what has been done with the Grand, with the use of colors and different types of windows to bring them all together, but give them a little bit of distinction too. I just would like to see a little bit more involvement along those lines. In regards to Dr. V's building in the front, when I'm looking at that, I do recall that there was some vertical, I'm trying to think of my siding terms now, that was the same as those buildings, the new buildings that are being proposed. I know what you're trying to do as far as to bring the whole area together, but I don't think it's appropriate. I think it's better to use the existing siding that is already on Dr. B's building to keep it as much as we can to its original form. Also along the same lines, I know that some of us have shutter issues. I think that there's a call for the shutters to be removed totally from Dr. V's building, if I'm correct. And it's a very minor detail, but it is something that I think that we should all think about.
yeah, we've actually called for them to be, well, the ones that are there to be removed and then
Right.
replaced where they can't. So for instance, there's
Oh,
some
so there is a
some
replacement.
locations that don't make sense.
Yes,
Where they're,
absolutely.
Like on the bay window.
Yes, I agree.
yeah. So to evaluate where we can actually get them to be placed proportionally
Mhm.
and look correct.
Okay.
Pat,
That's
how do you
why-
feel about the shutters? I wanted to ask Pat.
They look a little out of place, but I'd
Yeah.
have to go back and take a look at them again.
Okay,
Keep in mind on Dr. Volpin-Testa's building, if we're gonna keep the siding simple like it is now, that can be painted as well. People don't realize you can paint siding and it looks fantastic. So if we needed to change up the colors or something, we can do that. So.
Here's that view. I'm not sure who asked, but there's
oh,
the
okay.
view.
Thank you.
And yeah, right now, Beth, that actually, we did have the vertical siding called for when we were doing the addition, but since we've removed the addition, we do just have the plan to have it as the horizontal siding.
Okay.
To maintain the historical.
And on the first floor, the retail side, there was at one point, and I think I spoke to Alyssa about this, that at one point you showed the vertical siding and the brick. I think it was on building C.
Oh, on the other buildings. Yes, sorry. Yes, correct. Yep.
Has that been, I just.
Yep, we talked about that.
Okay. It just looks so out of place.
Right.
You know, you spend all that time creating the dormer and things like that, but then when you make that turn around the corner, you know, that corner piece is right on School Street, and it's a mixture of the vertical siding and brick, and it looks like you ran out of brick.
This corner, I think you're talking about, right?
Right.
It looks like you ran out of brick and you went with siding.
Yeah, no, we've discussed that. We're definitely gonna address that.
And it's just little tweaking. I'm not, you know, overall, it's a beautiful, I love the layout. It's accomplishing what I've wanted to see in TOD. And a lot of it is personal opinion. But at the same time, I think that, like I keep referring to, color was used brilliantly over at 42 Chestnut Street.
Beth, I agree with you.
You're right, Beth.
I agree. Corner boards, a little more color around the windows, stuff
I
like
just think there would be a sharpness to it. A little bit more. I'm looking for something more, I guess. A little bit more finesse.
Something that would stand out more and draw your eye to it. This is tremendous sameness here.
I love what you've done with the roofs as far as breaking them up. It's so hard to get developers to see that really makes a significant change as far as height. It breaks it up, it softens it. And I just think that, I know it was a lot of work to get it there. I appreciate that. Also, I don't know if Abigail is here tonight either, but the landscaping plan, I think, has turned out very well. There's a lot of good different colors, good seasonal colors that has been incorporated there. I like the idea of the courtyard area has really, it's going to draw people to it. It's going to draw people down to the alleyway going into Town Hall. And I think a lot of effort went into that also, along with all the work that you've done.
Abigail, I gave her the night off. I told her that if
Okay.
we needed her, I would text her.
Okay.
Peter, before we move to Dinus, can I just grab Rob Wallace to see if he has any questions? Rob, you're on mute. Do you have any questions?
Sorry about that. Yep. I love what I see. Questions, you know, I have personal thoughts and comments about the design, but you know, with the understanding that all of that is subjective, I'm going to leave that to the experts. I guess, you know, I would just say that, you know, to me, the dominant architecture going down Greenwood Avenue is the retail, you know, the current mixed use, you know, the block with the, you know, where Toy Room and the others are, where there's the street level retail and residence above. And, you know, I think, you know, the more that it fits into that, you know, that look, the better. But that's, you know, that's not a question, that's just a comment. The question I had was just related to, and kind of what I think Beth was getting at with ventilation. I know it was mentioned that there was a possibility for food service in the building. I was just wondering if, you know, accommodations like ventilation for a commercial kitchen or any other, you know, things like that have been considered. And then just one last question was the lighting between the buildings. I was wondering what the situation was there in the alleyways. That's it.
Let me ask Steve DeMarco on heating and air conditioning. I think you said we were doing electric heat.
Going to be electric heat pumps with air conditioning. They're just the suitcase style compressors that you'll have either outside or they can even go inside. You know, they're so efficient now, you can put a compressor inside with a drain. So they're the small suitcase types. You've seen them. They're like maybe 3 feet by 14, 16 inches wide. As far as a commercial kitchen and a restaurant, I don't intend on putting that in there because it just draws too much traffic. So that's it from my end.
If we needed to, we would obviously adjust the plans to deal with that.
Yeah, and there are capabilities if we needed to for mechanical, especially on building E, which is, I think, one of the main, we've looked at possibility of restaurant in there if need be. But we've also scaled back these buildings since the initial proposal, but had the restaurant mentioned. So the footprints may not accommodate that. But just for clarification, this parapet does allow for some mechanical to exist on the roof in here, as well as on this side. There are some small flat portions of roof, which can accommodate some mechanical.
So let's, Dinas, if you're there, if you can jump in with your site plan.
Sure. For the record, Dinas Verbicus, professional engineer with Artel Engineering Group in Brookfield, here on behalf of the applicant. I think what I'll do is grab and share my screen with you, if I may.
You may, Dinas. Let me know if you have any issues.
Okay. I think this is the one. Hey, look at that, I did it. So our portion of work on this proposed development was to prepare the site plan. Oh, that's weird. It's yellow blocks. And to that end, that's what we did is we prepared the site plan, a grading utility plan. And to the left of your screen, you'll note Greenwood Avenue. It's the south end of the site, north going to your right. So between our last meeting in December to now, we made several changes, nothing huge, but basically a massaging of the site plan to incorporate the door locations that are now fixed on the architectural building or architectural element of the design. And we reworked some of the walkway, the patio, and so on. And I'll go over one by one, starting from south going northward. So the first thing that we did is we incorporated handicap accessibility to the existing building. Currently on the site, you'll note that there is a large wooden ramp that kind of obstructs the existing building. And what we're proposing to do is to eliminate that ramp from the front of the building and put a nice concrete or otherwise walk along the eastern property line and scooch right up to the main level. We would rework the landing on the outside of the building so you can enter right into the building without issue. And of course, we'll replace the stairs so that in the front walk, so that all entering the building will enter through one area. We'll preserve the entrance on the west side of the building. And to facilitate that, we've proposed a little bit of a sidewalk and a couple of little steps to get to the flagstone walk that currently exists to the steps and landing on the west side of the building. From the ramp that we've proposed in this area, we propose to continue on with a little walkway to replace the existing walkway on the east side, and it will bring folks to one of two spots, actually one of three spots. First would be the stairs leading to the upper unit on this building A. The second bit of walk would wrap around the back of the building and provide access to the rear door, which currently resides underneath the exterior wooden stairs on the building, and we'll have a landing at which you could descend down to the parking spaces that are located to the north of Building A. So a lot of stuff happening in that area, and it has all been incorporated to make the site flow better or equal to the pedestrian access that is provided on the west side of the site. In order to include these stairs, we squeeze the trash enclosure a little bit dimensionally. So now we're roughly 8 by 20 feet dimension wise. And we could stretch that out a little bit bigger should the need be required. But 8 by 20 is a comfortable dimension for the trash enclosure. Going towards the west, we have reworked the proposed path. Gosh, I don't know what this yellow is. Are you seeing the yellow as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or how to fix that. But anyway,
What you're saying, Dennis.
Seems like your cursor's yellow. Is there a way to switch the color on the cursor? Maybe that'll
No,
eliminate it.
your AutoCAD, it's not a PDF, so your AutoCAD is showing.
yeah, actually it's a PDF that I'm working with, so it's kind
Really?
of weird.
Huh.
God.
I'm not sure Beth's the one to take advice from.
Remember, I'm in control. I can turn you off with one click.
I will watch my step.
She didn't mean that.
She's talking about me.
No, that wasn't you. Dinah.
Okay.
We're talking about the one that kept coming in and out during the executive.
It's on his phone.
So right where my cursor is, and I'm not moving it, is the proposed patio area. On the original application, we had a more square patio area, and what we've chosen to do here is extend it a bit southward, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on the landscape plan. But again, what we've done is we've elongated, made the patio area a little bit bigger and more usable to folks that would choose to use it.
Sorry.
Excuse me?
Was that where the pergola was? Oh, I'm sorry, Beth.
I'm sorry, Kitty, go ahead.
Is that where, the picture where we saw the pergola?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the pergola area. So I'm scrolling now down northward on the site. Again, on the site plan, nothing really shows up to changes that we've made aside from door locations on the buildings as we go from south to north. So we've added those. On the grading utility plan, we made provisions to assure that those landing areas are level for accessibility purposes. What we did next, you'd note, is added a hydrant as requested by our fire chief, Mr. Galliford. He asked that we sneak one in between buildings C and D, and that's precisely what we did. And again, as we go march our way further to the north, we made some minor adjustments to the plan to incorporate, again, the doors on building E, both on the commercial side as well as on the residential side. And we made some minor adjustments to locations of utilities underneath the asphalt, but nothing really of consequence. Let me go now to any questions with the site plan at all? None. Good.
Okay.
Or I'm on mute. Next, I'd like to share the
We'll get back to this,
landscaping
Dinah.
plan. Pardon me?
I said we'll come back to this after you go through the landscaping.
Okay. So on a landscaping plan, you'll note in this area, on the side of building A and a little bit to the south of building B, this pergola courtyard area that Abigail has laid out on the site. And I'll hold on to your hats. I'm going to scroll down a little bit to more of what Abigail was looking to create on this particular site. So again, looking to put a pergola in with some screening panels to help provide some shade and a little bit of privacy perhaps to the area. And Abigail has paid close attention also to textures and patterns that will be utilized on the walkway, primarily on the main pedestrian walk in these larger squared areas. She makes reference to some brushed concrete squares, which are indicated where I'm hovering now. And then in the patio area, as well as in the door entry areas, Abigail is proposing some plank style pavers to offset the concrete and to provide a little bit of dimension and define the different areas on the site. I think, as Beth had pointed out, pretty good hardscape work by our landscape consultant. Now we'll scroll ourselves a little bit further north on the site, and you'll note the treatment that Abigail, again with the planked surfaces, into a little courtyard area located between the buildings, where Abigail has envisioned some bike racks to be placed, as well as perhaps some seating arrangements, and maybe some planters to help define and create some character to these small alcoves or alleyways between the buildings. Really nice touch. Now we'll scroll back up to the site plan, and again, you'll note that between buildings C and D, similar type of treatment, a bicycle rack and some seating, some planters. And then between building D and E, Abigail has more focused on the plantings and a nice little walkway between the buildings. And I wish I knew more about the plants, but as with all of Abigail's work, things look really nice when they're in full bloom and fully planted out. And now I'll be happy to answer any questions that you folks might have on the plans themselves. Hopefully more on the site than on the landscape.
Excuse me.
It's open to questions. Bob?
Oh, I'm good.
I'm here.
Kitty?
When it comes to those very nice sitting areas, are they defined just for the use of the people who live in that area, or for even people using the stores? They're for general purpose use?
I believe they're more for general purpose. There's really no way to keep people from utilizing them. And I think again, it's keeping with what the TOD is all about.
Yes, and
shared spaces and pedestrian access.
You're exactly right, because also there are businesses that hopefully all those retail businesses where people could sit in between.
The whole object is to draw the people in.
Draw people downtown, right?
It would be open.
Exactly. I just wanted to make sure that they would be open for everybody. Thank you.
John?
I'm all set. Thanks, Pat.
Penny?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ken?
Yeah, it looks really good. I'm very happy with it.
Rich?
No questions here. Looks great.
Linda?
Yeah, looks good.
Rob Stoll?
The space between the buildings is 12 feet, as I recall.
Yes.
The bicycle racks, are they designed so that you would put bicycles on both sides? basically my question is, I would be concerned that if people were using the bicycle racks with on both sides, that might impede people walking through that space.
Right, yeah, I don't
That's
think
an excellent observation. And if you'll note on the screen, Abigail has proposed these U-style bicycle racks,
Mhm.
which basically allows people to put in a bike to straddle the U, and that way it's not obstructing obstructing pedestrian access.
Mhm.
And so as opposed to having, where a typical old style bike rack where you stick your front or rear tire into the space, and then the bike would extend outward the 6 feet or so in length that the bicycle is currently,
With the U, doesn't the bike sort
dimensions
of fit in the
most
middle?
bikes have.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're
Rob
welcome. Great
Wallace.
question.
No questions. It looks great.
Okay, thank you. Beth.
Just two technical things that have come up that maybe Dinus can elaborate on. One I spoke with him this afternoon with, how the Bethel Health Department has gotten very involved with dumpsters and locations and sizes and things of that nature. And recently we've had some difficulties with some other developments in regards to this. The health department memo of, I think it was October, but anyways, she specifically asked for a 10 by 20 enclosure. The proposed is 8 by 10. I did ask Dinus to look at that because she used very strong language in her memo saying that she.
I'm sorry, 8 by 20 is the dimension. So, I mean, if you'll note, referencing the landscape plan, again, we've got 8 feet dimensionally from the line to the wall, to the edge of the leading edge of the northern edge of the wall is 9 feet. We can certainly squeak out another foot to make it a 10 by 20 enclosure. And since these areas or these parking spaces are devoted to loading, they don't necessarily have to maintain the 9-foot parking space dimensions each, so we can clip the southern parking space and allow for a larger trash enclosure area.
Okay.
Not a problem, not an issue, easily adjusted.
Okay. Now, I know this afternoon there was a lot of communication with Tom Galliford, the fire marshal, in regards to his memo of December 7th. And in the last communication I received, and again, I'm not comfortable with us ending our discussions until we get this resolved. He was looking for designated areas for parking of emergency vehicles. He's not looking for, my clarification, and Dinus, you can correct me if I'm misunderstanding.
I'm looking to.
The concern was not getting the aerial tower into this facility. The concern was being able to have designated area for an emergency vehicle, for a regular fire truck, to be able to go in and have a parking space area and be able to come around and turn around and get out. And
Right, so
we looked at that earlier, and what we were looking at were those 3 spaces where we are on the site plan now to get them in there. And so I believe what happened was when the signage or something became loading zone from 9 to 12, it was a concern of his that emergency area to be able to turn around or use if need be was being eliminated.
I can jump in for 1 second. We added the loading zone area at the same time as the 9 to 12 signage was put up. So there was never an area that we were saying was dedicated for turnaround. It was always this. But I think at the end of the day, we need to make Tom happy and get him to sign off. And so we'll do a little work to do that.
Good. I'm just looking at the email now. And it looks like he would like to not necessarily turn around. Not
He
the
must be able to
tower.
pull
He's
in.
looking for a turnaround for an ambulance sized vehicle, which I think that with the 24-foot dimension on the driveway, we can negotiate that, especially if we've got 3 spaces. And perhaps the location of these spaces does not necessarily have to be at the southern end. In fact, what we might consider doing is proposing something in and around the area of the
Okay.
hydrant that Tom had requested. So perhaps if we incorporate our loading or emergency vehicle space here near the hydrant, the space will always be vacant. Emergency vehicles as well as hydrant access. So kind of two birds with one stone solution.
But we'll talk with Tom and report back.
Yeah, I mean, and I know you guys talked to him today and you've had several conversations with him. And I think that's basically what he was looking for, was give him a space so he can pull in his vehicle and then get out.
Yeah, we're just trying to accomplish that without giving up more parking spaces.
Understood. And those are the only 2 comments I have in relation to the site plan. And for other departments.
Great. What we will do is try to, sorry, Pat, you're talking, but you're on mute.
No, go ahead, Peter. I was just going to say, where do we go from here?
What we will do, we think basically we're done, which is great. But what we will do is have a little back and forth with Tom Gallagher to try to get that issue resolved. And we'll do a little tweak to the architecture to deal with some of the softening that Beth was asking for, as well as colors. And I think bring those back to you, and hopefully you'll be ready to act at your next meeting if we get that done and in and reviewed.
But Peter, please understand, as far as my comments, it's really the commission's decision. I mean, I don't, the commission may disagree with what I have to say, and that's perfectly fine with me. Nobody really had too much to say as far as the architecture. So I think overall everybody's fine. I would leave it to the board to.
No, I think you were right, Beth, when you talked about more definition around the windows and possibly more color.
Right.
Because it looks a little flat when you look at the building. It doesn't jump out. It's a building, a very plain building.
I totally agree with Beth's points. The coloring and something a little different, as you say, Pat, to make the buildings stand out more. I think would be really great. But the architecture themselves is great.
I mean, Ed Stein painted a giant American flag on the front of his building across the street in 1976.
Well, now.
That's a little too much jump out.
Yeah.
We'll look at the colors. It's a point well taken. And I drive past 42 Chestnut every day, and I love the way that came. So, we'll work on that. We'll work on the brick elements. I think there may be a little too much brick, but we'll talk about that. And we'll get that back to you. And like I said, hopefully you'll be ready to act next meeting and let us move on.
Pat, I just have one comment before we
Yes,
wrap this application up.
Yes, John.
I think it's important for the applicant and everybody involved. It's a pretty busy site plan. And I think it's important to mention that there is no snow storage areas. And when we had the public hearings, everybody talked about a reduction of parking, and that was going to be a problem. So I think it's important to mention that somehow there needs to be a system in place to make sure we don't lose parking spaces during the 4 or 5 months during the winter season for emergency services, for the residential, and for the commercial. I just think it's important that somebody's focusing on that as far as a maintenance issue.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
I was told I could haul it out and dump it in the back of the municipal center since we can't park there.
Just kidding. It's a good spot.
There you go. On the front lawn.
On a serious note, obviously my prayers are with Dr. Volpentesta's family. He was our family doctor, my mother's doctor, you know, just still to this day. He would still call to make sure she was okay. Unbelievable man. And I think as we progress, there was a plan earlier, as Peter will contest, to possibly doing something cool, naming the alleyway or doing something, but that's for another date. But our prayers are with him. He was super excited about this project and just saddened that he's not going to be around to see it. And I also want to thank the commission and the team that I put together. And as you can see, we work together as a town and a team, and I'm excited to do everything so that everybody's happy, not just I'm happy. So thank everybody for all their time and patience, and we're going to get it right at the next meeting and close it out.
Thank you, Stephen.
Stephen.
All right. Moving on our agenda, new business, ECB Realty LLC. Special permit, site plan renewal, 22 Stony Hill Road.
Okay. I sent you in your agenda there. I sent you an approved site plan that has expired for the corner of what is it, Vale and Route 6. They're asking for it to be reinstated.
Oh, the gas station?
The gas station.
Right.
That was for Ed Batista. And so we have a request from Attorney Marcus. And I see that Mr. Dinas is still here. In case we have questions, I assume that he can answer them. But I feel that unless the commission has anything pertinent to the application, since the application was approved, our zoning regulations pertaining to Route 6 have not changed. Nothing pertaining to the codes have changed. So I have no problem with encouraging the commission to reinstate this approval.
I just have one question, Beth. Now that all that new housing has gone up out on Vale Road, is that going to impact traffic coming from 22 Stony Hill into traffic coming up Vale? Because I think there's going to be so much more that when we originally did the application, those houses didn't exist.
Yeah, but that's only a 10-lot subdivision on Vale. You're talking about by the old Caballeros Grove?
Yeah, it's only 10 houses.
Yeah, I think it's 10. It's just a 10-lot subdivision, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it is 10.
I have something sorry.
Go ahead, John.
You know, Beth, I was okay with the application. I voted for the application back then. I think a lot of things changed out in Route 6, and I've never, ever thought that I made a bad decision. But that drive-through, the gas station, the exit on Vale Road, ever since we approved it, I didn't like it. And I've seen the sign out there because they've been peddling that project for the entire time.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not sure that I'll vote to make a motion to give an extension, to be honest with you. I think a lot of things changed out on Route 6.
I mean, now that we have wheels on the other side, which we didn't have before. You know,
Was this a 5-year? This was a 5-year approval, right, Beth?
Right. So it's so it's expired.
Right, no, I know, but what I mean is we've had 5 years of change on Route 6, and I just remember looking at that side entrance for the drive-through because it could be a Dunkin' Donuts, and the curb cuts that are so close to that traffic light, you know, for that crazy 6 hours a day in the morning and the afternoon. I'm just throwing it out there, and I'm one vote, and I've never ever not voted for an extension because we obviously approved something. It's just I felt very uncomfortable watching traffic after that, right? You know, we approved a lot of drive-throughs up the street, you know, not directly onto the road, but this almost seems like it exits right out to that traffic light.
Okay.
Is this an extension or
And,
another?
I'm sorry, and there's a lot of new commissioners, and I'm not sure that everybody's up to speed on, you know, hey, you know, let's just vote yay for an extension on something that an old commission approved.
Where exactly is this?
Corner.
It's that residential house on the intersection of Route 6 and Val.
Across from
right?
where the Little Angel is.
There you go.
Right.
Okay.
You're right directly across from there, no.
So we approved it. It could be a gas station with a connected
Drive-through.
drive-through
Right.
on that building.
Okay. I think,
I have a question.
yeah,
Is this an extension or is it 5 more years?
it's 5 more years.
That's a renewal.
They're asking for it to be reinstated.
Do they have anything in the works? Or are they still looking?
I was approached by a realtor and I told the realtor that the site plan was not active, was null and void.
Okay.
Oh, because it expired without anybody coming to us. So this is,
Correct.
they're reacting to an expire, I'm sorry. You did
Yes.
say that, but I didn't realize, I thought it was coming. So it is currently expired. Got it.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
past the 5 years then.
Right, right. It's probably 5.5.
No, I think it's more than that.
No,
Beth,
but
when did it
to the point.
expire?
Hold on.
So while she's looking for the commission, so an application came in, we approved it for a gas station with 2 curb cuts, so they could enter from Route 6 and they could exit onto Val Road. And part of the application, that one building will have it might be a Dunkin' Donuts, might be a Starbucks with a drive-through component to it.
Yeah, even just
You're
think
right,
about-
John, because traffic has increased so much out on Route 6.
Well, it's increased and the majority of people that would make that turnaround would want to go back onto Route 6. So it could create a huge
They'd be crossing over. No.
that little loop.
Okay. All right, here's okay, the commission approved it on July 8th, 2014.
Oh, is that
Okay.
not?
Years ago.
Yeah.
So
Young man then.
it does, it's interesting because the rule of thumb is the site plan can expire, but there was a special permit with this too. And it's my legal understanding that special permits do not expire. Once they're filed in the land records, that's it.
So what was the special permit for?
The
Oh,
special
please
permit
refresh.
was for, I believe, the special permit was part of
For
it.
the
was
drive-through.
Drive-through,
Right, for the drive-through, right.
yeah.
That's the part of it I didn't like.
Because we weren't approving drive-throughs unless they were in, so, like Big Y onto Route 6.
Right.
So that was a very unusual approval for us.
We've approved through special permits, drive-throughs, okay, Dunkin' Donuts in the
But it's
corner
in a plaza.
plaza across from Big Y,
In a
you know,
plaza.
because they don't exit to the
Right, yeah.
highway. So
Correct.
that's why there's a special permit process, so that we could give it a different look, right?
Exactly.
So,
Right.
But Beth,
and
what
I'm not saying,
happened?
I'm sorry, Penny, I'm not saying the drive-through on this conversation right now directly exits, but there's a drive-through component that does a lot of traffic movement on that small site.
But Beth, what happens if the site plan request approval expires and we allow it to expire or we don't renew, but the special permit stays in force?
No, it's all in one. So it was a site plan approval with a special permit to allow the drive-in.
Right.
So right now, they don't have an approved plan.
Right now, no, they have a special permit
Right, that's what I
That's
thought.
approved. on the land records,
So that never expired?
but they do not have an approved site plan.
Right, so, but it's the same thing. They can't
No.
build the drive-through without having a site plan approval.
Right, so they
Right,
have
so
to
it's the
have
same thing.
that.
Right,
You don't
Right.
eliminate the drive-through component.
right,
The
right,
drive-through component, no matter what they put there, remains. Now
right.
you're dealing with. So before we go into too much of this, what I would like to do is have a discussion with Attorney Marcus, who is the lawyer for this, just to clarify, make sure that I'm speaking to you correctly, which I'm 90% sure I am.
I think so.
And then invite them to come back to the commission
Oh, that's a good idea.
to review the site plan with the commission, because you do have several new members,
Right.
and discuss your concerns and see if there are possibilities to make some changes, or just review it overall and then come to some conclusions.
That's a great idea.
Diane probably could handle it tonight.
Huh?
Beth,
No offense to Dinus, but Dinus doesn't want to be everything to everybody.
Beth,
Only one of
At
those.
least he's listening.
Honestly, I think you should approve it.
Beth, I have something to say.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Bob.
Okay, now, they have the special permit for a drive-through,
Right.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in, is there anything in the special permit that says the drive-through has to come out on Vale Road?
I don't know. I have to pull the approval.
So they would have to come back with a, I would think if it doesn't, then you would have to come back to the, for a new site plan that comes out onto Route 6. which
That could
probably
be a
wouldn't get approved
possibility.
based on the traffic study.
Dinus, do you have the site plan in front of you?
I do not.
No, because I just
Totally unprepared on this one.
No,
I'm sorry. But from what I recall, I think we needed to come out onto Vale Road with our exit because of the proximity to the light.
On Route 6.
Right.
The parcel, it's pretty narrow and close to the traffic light. And I think that we were asked to come out onto this side street with our exit. But I'll need to review the application so I can speak better to it at our next meeting, I guess.
And that's my point. The special permit is no good without the site plan.
Right.
It's still in effect. It's on the deed. But they need the second phase of it, which would be the site plan to say it can come out there. Can't come out there without a site plan.
Let me put it this way. I don't think the drive-through didn't exit and have its own driveway on Val. The component of a drive-through was part of the site plan, where it was just direction of traffic on the site. The site plan had two exits, one on Route 6 and one on Val. And for all of those reasons, I thought I had a lot of concern after it was approved. And I'm going to say it again. I think Route 6 has, turned into something different than 6 years ago. So I always looked at design for lease and thought, geez, if I got this, I would be looking at something different.
Okay.
A different
With
opinion.
the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that I understand your concern that the commission is feeling. The rest of you, I think the newer members, obviously, would love to see something in a more informational presentation by the applicant. And I'll speak to the attorney. I'll speak with Dinus. I'll get together the resolution, forward that to you guys. And you can see actually what the special permit is that was filed in the land records. Okay.
I apologize if the conversation went this way because of my opinion,
But you're right. No, you're right, John.
Yeah.
No,
You're right.
absolutely.
I think your opinion is right, John. Thank you.
No, I appreciate, I come in, I have these things, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm dealing with. A lot of times you guys don't, and you have to stop me and say, no, we need to look at this closer and look more concrete. And I agree, 100%, no issue.
We'll never let you hang by yourself.
Well, sometimes you guys do. Stop.
Okay.
All right.
So my understanding is that we'll likely come back at the next meeting for an informal discussion.
Yeah, I'll talk to Neil.
And we'll take your opinion in consideration.
Approved.
All right, moving on.
Thank you, folks.
Good night, Dinus.
Good night, Dinus. Kubicki special permit accessory apartment, 1 Woodlawn Drive.
Okay, in conjunction with this, you have 2 requests for accessory apartments.
Right.
What I would like to do, because under my report, obviously, we're going to be talking about the accessory apartment regulations. I would like to schedule public hearings for these two for the 26th of January, but also give them the option that there may be a change in the accessory apartment regulation, where it may just be a zoning permit by the end of February.
Oh,
which would be nice.
that would be.
But Beth, with timing and the change, are they better doing a public hearing because we need to notify and have that, you know,
They're going to save about $400 and $500
so they're willing, okay, got it, yeah.
if they wait a month. I mean, if they, you know, if they need it right away, then fine, then we can go forward with the public hearings.
So then you recommended that we don't schedule, oh, no, I'm sorry, we're gonna schedule a public hearing in
Yeah.
case it doesn't work out that way, right?
Right.
Yep.
And I'll give them the option.
So I'd like to make a special, a motion to schedule a public hearing for a special permit, accessory apartment for the two addresses of 22 Stony Hill. No, I'm sorry, 1 Woodlawn Drive and 23 Old Hollyville Road.
Okay.
Second,
I'm
And
sorry,
send it
who
out
was
to
that
appro-
second?
Kitty,
Kitty, thank you.
yeah.
thank you.
Any
And send it out
discussion?
to,
I'm sorry, go ahead, John, finish.
and send it out to the appropriate town agencies for review for the public hearing.
Perfect, thank you. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Thank you.
And
Planning
my
and
motion
zoning
was to
division-
schedule, and my motion was to schedule them for the 26th of January, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I got that.
Thank you.
All right, next is the planning and zoning official report.
Yes, okay, so under my report, in regards to the accessory apartments, you did receive a draft of a change in the regulations. There's two components that are happening. We're not calling it a special permit anymore. You're allowing it to be administratively decided upon within the department. One thing I do want to do is make two modifications to that. When you look at the accessory apartment regulation, it states that if there's if you need to go over 900 square feet, whatever, the commission has to approve it, and also dealing with parking. So in the regulation, in the final draft, when we schedule a public hearing, you'll see it's going to be upon the commission's recommendation. So in other words, if someone approaches the department for an accessory apartment, I would bring it to the meeting and say, hey, guys, we don't do public hearings or anything. Under my report, it'd be, I have this accessory. They want to put another 400 square feet or whatever. Is that okay with you?
Beth, I think that's a fabulous idea that that time should have come a long time ago.
And so what I'd like to do is schedule a public hearing for this for February 9th. If that's agreeable with you.
Okay. We need a
And I need
motion.
Motion for a public hearing and also to refer it to our regional planning agency for a review.
All right, if I may have a motion, please.
I move what Beth said for February 9th.
Thank you, Penny.
You're welcome.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Beth, I
All
just,
those in favor?
hang on one second.
Wait, Penny wants.
Hang on, I just
Penny
have a
wants to
quick
say something.
question. By accessory apartment, you mean like in-law apartments, things like that?
Yes.
Yeah, the terms are interchangeable.
Okay, and will that affect the policies and stuff regarding in-law apartments and their use?
No,
Okay, thank you,
no, the uses will stay the same, definitely.
thank you.
Okay, again, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Anything else, Beth?
Yes, recently, our last meeting, we had a lot of discussion on parking in the downtown area. Winter parking, snow parking. I've seen a lot, a few comments here and there about tickets are being given out in certain areas of town. I think tickets were given out on Grand Street a couple of weeks ago or something because people were parking overnight. What I would like to do is, on behalf of the commission, is put a memo together to the Board of Selectmen, asking them to put together a small subcommittee to really start working on ways that we can address some of these issues that have come up. Overnight parking in the winter. You know, Danbury has the great parking garage. So when you have a big storm, you put your car in the parking garage in Danbury. I think you truly have to start looking at areas on town municipal property for parking in this type of instance. Besides that, we do have recently, they've just hired a new director of public works who has, he's an engineer with a transportation background.
Oh,
I think that
what's
I'd
his name?
like to see this small subcommittee start looking at improvements on some of our streets along with our parking. For example, and I'm just throwing this out there, it's not verbatim, but for example, on School Street, we have one side that you can do parallel parking. What if we made School Street one way and did diagonal parking? Would that increase the parking? These are the type of things that I think this new employee, this new director of public works can help us with. And I'd like to put something together, have you guys review it at the next meeting, because I think the directive should come from you to the Board of Selectmen. You can't make these changes. You can't design or coordinate, hey, we'll allow parking in the rear of the municipal center. It'll be a pass, like you buy a dump parking permit over at the train station. You could buy a 6-month pass to park in the rear corner of the municipal center parking lot. You know, there's got to be creative ways to do it. And I think we have to do it. We have to take the initiative and give the direction to the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
But with TOD, we're getting more of these applications that need parking. And I think the Board of Selectmen has to know that we've been involved and we're looking for solutions. And we're looking to him, toward the Board of Selectmen, to work with him and this perhaps this new man who could be of a big help to us.
I think that the first thing we have to overcome is the concern that there isn't enough parking downtown.
Right.
Because I truly believe that there is enough parking.
Yeah.
There
We
is
had a
parking
study done
down
and they said there was.
But I think that there are certain elements involving parking that we can give a little push to the Board of Selectmen to make improvement on.
For instance, this winter parking.
Well, the winter parking is the biggest item.
Exactly.
And, you know, there's, I mean, I don't want to get, but you have to remember, they used to be able to park overnight in the old train station where the brewery is.
That's right. That's right.
And when the brewery went in, we put in the signage and said no overnight parking.
Right.
And there are areas, like I've pointed out during this application process with 155 Greenwood Avenue, there are areas in town that, like the old Gill's Pub, that have no parking. If we didn't allow them to change the use over to the residential uses they're at, it would still be looking like a dump.
Yes.
Right.
And the other one that comes to mind is the Herb Camp, Beth Camp's building. You know, they have 2 apartments upstairs and they had this verbal agreement with the town to allow their tenants to park in the old train station parking lot. And then, you know, the town changed their mind. So now they scramble for where are they going to park. And you're going to have instances like that over the years.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, Beth, you may remember years ago, we took a look at School Street and we took a look at changing the parking. And I think it was the police that turned it down.
Right.
So maybe it's time to revisit this.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
You know, 20 is plenty. The other thing I want them to do too is start, you know, making those connections. We have to start making those connections with the police department on our speed limits in downtown.
Oh, yes.
It's a lot of work, but that's where my focus is going to be for the next year.
Good.
No, that's a good start. Made a great start.
And
Anything
that's all
else,
I have.
Beth? Okay, moving on. Commission comments.
I have one.
Yes, John.
I think, Kitty, I want you to take this as a compliment. I'm not sure my grandmother would have been able to get on a Zoom meeting with her camera, so congratulations.
Well, next time I'll wear my Givenchy.
John, you're awful.
Ha 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 ha.
Any other comments?
Nope.
I do want to say happy birthday to Rob Stoll.
Oh, is it his birthday?
Happy
Happy birthday,
Rob.
Rob.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Happy birthday, Rob.
You didn't
All
bring
right,
a cake?
if there's no other commission comments, we'll move on to public input. BJ, by chance, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year.
Anyone else in the public, any comments or questions? All right, hearing none. If I
Motion to
may have,
adjourn.
thank
Second.
you. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Katie,
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Opposed, abstention? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night.
thank you. Good night.